We are back. You know who it is, the dynamic duo with another Unfiltered Conversations. You already know who we are, so I don't feel like I got to introduce ourselves now every time.
Right. And in case you don't, lower third.
Right. In case you don't, Yolanda.
Right.
And Kelly Mac.
Yes.
So, as you said, we have another beautiful guest on the couch tonight. Mm-hmm. And tonight is about another very important topic, which is about life insurance.
Oh, my gosh.
And our life policies and our wills and things of the nature. And it's not about, putting a gloom and predicting death or talking about death or anything like that per se, but there are things that we need to be prepared for.
Absolutely, because it's the inevitable.
Right.
If it's not you first, it's going to be somebody you love.
Exactly.
So why not be prepared?
Yeah. And so our guest, Tina Knox, is a guru, a life insurance expert guru, where you have all those type of things. And so she's going to be sharing some insight and information with us.
Absolutely.
On things that we need to know.
Right.
The things that we can start doing now if you have not already have a will or a life policy in place, the best one to get in place, and making sure that you have her contact information so you can reach out to her directly. Correct. So we're going to get right into it. Go ahead, Kelly Mac. Let's fire off with the questions.
Let's go. You and I talk about this all the time because we've been through some things, and I believe that you can either A, make the mistakes yourself, or you can learn from the mistakes of others.
Right.
So, one thing that I despise is when somebody passes and it's all over social media. We don't have no money to put them in the grave. We're looking for donations. GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand tragedies happen, specifically when children die young, specifically when something suddenly happens. Mm-hmm. But let's be honest, death cannot be predicted.
Right.
You're not going to necessarily live to be 90. And if you do live to be 90, then what?
Right.
And are you going to still have people that know what your wishes are?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk first and foremost about life insurance policies. A lot of people don't understand that Starbucks money that you spend every day, $5-6, a few days of that will cover your premium for the month.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So where would you like me to start, ladies?
Let's start. Yeah. How do you get this life insurance policy, and how affordable is it actually to get one?
It's actually very affordable. So what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes to give you guys real life examples.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so as it relates to life insurance, there's really just two main life insurance policies, and then of course you have the IULs, or what we call universal life. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start with whole life first, and I like to give an example because I think that helps people have a better understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So with whole life, traditionally we have talked about burial, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the topics some of the points you made related to burial. Mm-hmm. But what people don't realize is that people have used whole life to preserve wealth for years, right? Traditionally, whole life is used for final expenses. Mm-hmm. So for example, even if you're single with no kids, if you don't have the money to take care of yourself, you might want to consider a small whole life policy or even a term policy because you're young and healthy. Okay. But most people, when they think of whole life, they do think of final expense, right? Mm-hmm. Final resting. But what I want the listeners to know, and we don't have time to get into it today, but what I want them to know is that you should also look into life insurance as a way to save money. It's a safe money savings plan. It's that safe money. It's not in the market, and it's not going to grow like the market.
Right.
But for people that are conservative, whole life is a good option.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Let's talk about that and the saving piece of that.
The saving piece. So basically, it's a built-in savings account. It's going to come out of your account every single month. Of course, you have the high interest savings accounts that people talk about a lot now. Of course, everyone knows about the stock market, but you actually can put $500 or more into a whole life policy. Right. There are people that are paying bills from their whole life policies. Okay. You hear about people leaving wealth to institutions and various, businesses through their whole life policy.
Right. Yeah, so let's talk rates. Rates. I'll be honest. I have a policy that few $100,000, one of my policies, and it's less than $40 a month.
Right.
So and it's from a very reputable provider.
Right.
And I'm not throwing numbers out there, for
and
braggadocious purposes. That's not who I am, but more for informative purposes.
Right.
Me personally, I don't want nobody to become a millionaire when I die because I don't want you to plot my death.
Right.
However,
I want your family to become a millionaire.
Right. Well, and that's cool. So let's talk about that. How do we do that?
So let's talk
because
about
people feel funny sometimes in the family when you talk about life insurance,
It's like,
why you think
we
I'm the
have
guy?
to-
many people are worth more debt than alive.
Exactly.
So we have to break the barriers, and we have to also change the mindset behind that.
Okay.
So, just to touch on pricing, any insurance agent, and I'm what you call a field agent. So I'm not like what you see on TV.
Right,
We don't
right.
even have access to even sell those policies. I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
But I'm a field agent. I have 30 to 40 insurance companies that I can write. We have the ability to write whatever your budget is. So if someone tells me I can afford $25, I'm going to see what I can get them for $25.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But I do want to touch on another insurance policy, which is term life.
Okay.
When you think about term life, you want to think about mitigating risk. You want to make sure, okay, I have a mortgage, I have children to raise. You might have someone who's dependent on your income in some capacity. You may have parents that depend on your money. So term is good for that. Term is very inexpensive, and you can purchase a term from 10 years all the way up to 30 years. And honestly, let's say you want to get rid of that term at some point because maybe you're debt free and you've built up your assets, you can do that.
Yeah.
But term is very important. And the unfortunate part, a lot of people, because they have a job, they depend on the job
life insurance
for
policy.
the insurance.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not enough. I recommend that you have at least 7 to 10 years of your income in a term policy when you're in your childbearing ages, when you have debt.
Yeah.
So those are some things to think about. So every single policy has its use.
Yeah.
Every single policy has its use.
So if you make $50,000 a year, you should have at least a $350,000
at
policy.
bare minimum.
Yeah,
So
bare
just do
minimum.
the math. And there's a
And that's if you have children. But if your children
Right.
are grown and
Right.
like you said, your house is paid off, your
Right.
car is paid
Right.
off, then you can look at other options.
You can look at other options. You can
Okay.
do other things. And so that leads us to the IUL.
Okay.
Right? So that became popular around, I started hearing a rumble in 2019. Honestly, I was not aware of the IUL until 12 years ago when I got in this industry.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that there were people out there buying homes and doing all types of things with an IUL. They were also using that as a savings account. So with a 529 plan, which is very popular, right, for college education. But if you do not use that for education, they will penalize you.
Yes.
So a lot of people started putting their money in an IUL to save for college. The thing about it, it trades like the stock market, right? But it's not in the stock market. But I'm going to say it grows along the index or whatever the agent puts it in.
Yeah.
But if the market goes down, that policy does not lose money.
Okay, well that's
it does
good.
not lose money. There's a floor, right? Versus if you put the money in the market.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to advocate one way or the other.
Right.
Anytime I'm
We're here to
dealing
talk
with a
options.
client,
Yeah.
you should always make sure that your agent is doing what's best for you and not what's best for their commission check.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you'll have some people say, oh, whole life's bad. Well, it depends. I don't think any of them are bad, or it just depends on the individual situation.
Right.
Also with an IUL, people will use it to save for retirement.
Yeah.
There are some people that are just very conservative. It's way better than a savings account.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
You see all the commercials and stuff that are going
do,
on.
yeah.
They're pushing it through the talk shows every 5 minutes. Colonial Penn or someone else. What do you feel about those policies? I heard you mention a minute ago. I'm not going to talk about the ones that's on TV. Don't say about those. But what are your thoughts?
I don't believe in bad mouthing anyone.
Right. We're not bad. This is it's
But
unfiltered conversation and information.
Yes. We keep it real.
Here's
Raw
what I
dog.
want to say. Here's what I want to say. It really depends. So I'm not a big advocate of policies that will increase over time. So as long as you buy a policy on TV that does not increase over time, I'm okay with it.
Okay, when you say increase, are we talking about the payout increases
the
or
payment,
the premium
the
every
premium,
month?
the
Okay.
premium.
Okay.
So you have some policies that will increase yearly. You have some that will increase every 5 years.
Yes.
And what I was touching on earlier, I don't even have access to sell those policies.
Okay.
So I don't know. Us field agents, we don't even have access to that. Also, I'm not a big fan of, hey, you can get insurance for $10. That's not realistic, okay?
Right.
Okay.
Sometimes they're talking about units,
Yeah.
$10 per unit.
Yeah.
But they're able to get away with that. That's not something that I could
Right.
do. I could be fined. I could lose my license.
Yeah. All right.
And
so
I think it's good to say that, because I think that is sometimes a lot of the misconception that is pushed through media, pushed
Right.
through TV.
Correct.
But having someone like you on the couch that people can talk to and to actually call up and get the
Right.
right information and right advice.
yes,
Right.
instead of talking to an agent in another country.
Yeah.
That
Right.
part.
You know, I know.
Right. Right.
Another thing I wanted to touch on too that's not really spoken about, but it's also a life insurance product. It's called a fixed annuity. So basically that's not my area that I focus on.
Right.
But if you wanted to put money in a fixed annuity, it's like having your own pension.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
That's good stuff. Now, let me ask you this. Recently, we had a loved one that passed in the family, and they did have a pretty nice life insurance policy. However, the premium had increased to nearly $1,000 just months before they passed, maybe a couple years before they had passed. So the policy was null and void. And the question was, why did it go from $80 a month to almost $1,000 a month at a certain age? How does that happen?
Yeah.
And how can you keep that from happening?
They keep that from happening by buying it from a field agent. Buy
Buying it
insurance
from you.
from a local
Okay.
agent. Yes, buy from me. 704-363-5420.
Get that plug out. And while she's doing that, we're going to take a little break. We always do a 2-for-1. So we'll be right back with more Unfiltered Conversations.